This is your weekly Tarotscope for January 5th through January 11th. Our anchor card this week is the Emperor. This is Aries. And we currently have the nodes preparing to leave Aries and Libra after an 18-month stay. So this week we are in the 0-degree Aries and Libra range. And that's major because the nodes are going to shift signs on Saturday, January 11th. So it's interesting to see Aries coming through here loud and clear in our first card. It feels like there is some focus on self-determination that's showing up this week, potentially us reorienting toward what we want or what we want to build. The word build feels important here. There could be sort of a world building or visioning aspect to this week. Of course, it's early in the calendar year, and so we are likely focusing on the long term or thinking about goals or even just thinking about the new year and the new energy we're stepping into. Whether or not you're in goal setting mode doesn't matter, but it feels like there's something this week that's really showing up and kind of providing a burst of inspiration that's going to make you want to set your sights on something strong. And you could be feeling strong, you could be feeling like you're in the mode of leader, even if it's leader of your own life or a leader of your family or, whatever, leader of your job. There's some quality of leadership that we're accessing and cultivating this week, and you might want to spend time meditating on the energy of the Emperor. Our challenge this week is the Five of Pentacles reversed. This feels like it's showing up primarily in the form of insecurity, but the fact that it's showing up in the reverse tells me that this is something we're overcoming this week. And so the challenge is for us to maybe step out of playing small, and that could really have to do with this Emperor energy. Maybe we're facing some of our insecurities or some of the foundational stuff in our life, like our experiences that have led to the mindset that we currently have, the beliefs that we have about ourselves and our capacity, and the ways that we might limit ourselves or box ourselves in unintentionally with those beliefs, just the carryover of what's been programmed within us. And of course, we all experience this societally and collectively to a degree, but we all experience it at a personal level in various ways. So it might be time to inspect some of those stories this week. And if you do that, and if you reflect on maybe what's holding you back that doesn't need to be holding you back, this could be the moment that you shift gears. Our gift this week, Judgment. This is a Pluto card. I should mention that the Five of Pentacles is a Taurus card. So with Judgment coming up as a gift, it feels like there's a thoughtful, discerning decision that we might make this week, or a moment when we're really taking stock of the past. Maybe it's through this reflective work, and we're coming to a greater degree of self-awareness and maybe permission. Maybe we're giving ourselves permission to step into a new chapter, to graduate out of some type of limiting belief or programming or whatever, right? There's something that we're moving toward, and we're kind of making this clear choice. Like, I no longer want to buy into that. That is not helpful anymore. It's interesting because the astrology this week has some challenges. First off, looking at my notes here, we have on Monday, January 6th, Mars re-entering Cancer. And so I mentioned the Emperor, right? And this is associated with Aries, which by way of Aries, we could say Mars, which is the planetary ruler of Aries. Mars in retrograde is re-entering Cancer. And so it's moving from Leo back into Cancer, and Mars retrograde in Cancer has us really facing a lot of those deeper stories and those deeper sources of tension and anger and even rage, and wanting to enact boundaries that protect ourselves emotionally and maybe protect the people and the creatures that we love most and that we find most dear and tender and precious to us. And so that sense of protectiveness, can you use that to maybe guard a softer part of you, but also reflect on the ways that maybe you lash out when you feel vulnerable, when you feel under fire? That could be part of this judgment exercise too, is to understand that sometimes your first impulse is not necessarily the truth. It's often coming from a part of you that feels fearful or vulnerable or whatever. So that's something to be thoughtful of, especially because we also have Mercury forming a square to Neptune on Monday, on January 6th. And it's also a first quarter moon in Aries. And so there's a lot of martial energy. And with this Mercury Neptune square, there can also be a tendency for us to get really lost in our thinking processes and our own projections, and to kind of feel stuck there and start to believe that that's the truth. So if you can, try pouring that energy into something more creative and generative, so it's not necessarily keeping you trapped in some type of haze of fear and projection and illusion. On January 8th, we do have Mercury entering Capricorn, and I think that'll offer some infrastructure and potentially help us with this discernment, this sort of like looking at it with more honest eyes. It'll take us out of that Mercury-Neptune square and bring us into more practical thinking. And on January 11th, as I mentioned, the nodes shift from Aries and Libra into Pisces and Virgo. And that is a paradigm shift. It's a moment of great change for us and the lessons we're working through and the growth opportunities collectively and personally. And we will talk about that probably next week. Have a good week.